It's not desert season without a campfire or Chupacabra Offroad. Now, here's your host, Nick Olson.
What's happening, everybody? We are back after a long hiatus. That's right, it's the Chupacabra Offroad Around the Campfire podcast. I'm your host, Nick Olson, joined as always by my broski, Wes Lefler. Say what's up, Wes.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Happy to be back. Like I said, or like Nick said, it's been a while, so it's good to be back. Got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, we were grinding, doing our thing. Doing a little bit of riding here and there. And kind of the big topic of our show tonight is the Sand Sport Super Show. So stick with us if you want to hear about what our experience was like from a vendor perspective, kind of what we saw at the show, what we thought was interesting, kind of what we've been working on as a company. And then, of course, we're going to talk about how that spills over to what's all the talk of the summer, the Speed UTV, of course. Me maybe jumping ship from Polaris to Can-Am, maybe, not so much maybe. And then what's coming up here in the future from events that Wes has got going on, myself, and then luckily we'll be reconvening, Wes, another Halloween, not Camp Razor, Glamis trip. So it's going to be cool to start off the desert, the dune season right by hitting the first big weekend. So hopefully it's not 95, 98 degrees like it usually is. And we have a good trip. We're going to try to make another banger video for all of you guys who love watching that stuff on the YouTube. And speaking of which, we met a lot of those people from the Sand Show. A lot of people just came by and gave me a pound, like, love the content, love what you guys are doing. Did you get a lot of the same vibe from people?
Yeah, it was awesome. It's really cool to meet a lot of people, people coming up and saying, hey, we follow the YouTube's page, we listen to the pods, we do all those things. And it's really cool to actually get FaceTime with people who enjoy our product and enjoy the content and had a good time. You almost feel like you're not really working when you're at the Sand Show. You kind of feel like you're just there hanging out and people are coming to see you like you're some sort of important person. But no, man, I had a great time at the Sand Show. It was a really good experience. And, it was really fun to, push the new products like we were talking about.
Yeah, so if you guys haven't listened to the pod or haven't heard much of Wes is pretty much at almost every off-road event, and probably more than most people. So from off-road races, from Mexico here in the States, as a racer, as a chase crew, and then also as an enthusiast. He's riding in Utah, he's riding in the dunes when he's not doing all that stuff. And then this, ironically, was probably like the only event we hadn't been to. Wes was at the Sand Show last year, but last year didn't really count because we got shut down and we got moved because of COVID to Scottsdale. So, this is your first time at the show where it's supposed to be in Orange County, 60,000 people. Tell the people who are listening, like, what it was like for us on Saturday at our booth.
It was crazy. It was nuts. Getting back to what you're talking about, I do go to a lot of places, and there was actually a race while we were there. But, after being in the small Sand Show last year in Arizona, I enjoyed it so much. I enjoyed the product, to selling the product, to talking to people about Chupacabra Offroad and what we were doing. So I was so excited for the Sand Show that at the beginning of the year, the team that I raced with in Mexico, I told them, like, hey, I'm sorry, but I'm out for the 400. And luckily that team went down there and did great. Menzies Motorsports, congratulations to them. Getting the big win and Bryson them pulling it off. But we were able to follow the race in Costa Mesa, around 60,000 off-road enthusiasts, being outdoors. The weather was perfect. It wasn't too hot. It wasn't too cold. It was perfect. And, it's really a different experience from what I experienced the first time down in Arizona. Obviously, people had told me this and that, whatever. Not that was a bad experience because I enjoyed it so much. But yeah, it's on a whole nother level being in its home spot and being the level of people and products and things that you see. People walking around and, honestly, a lot of my friends, a lot of people in the industry that, you call friends, not people necessarily that come over for Christmas or things like that, but friends within the industry. I got to talk to so many of them, and it's really cool because we're all in one place. We get to talk about shop and things like that. And they know that I'm a part of, Chupacabra, and, I'm happy to be a part of it. And so it was fun talking to them and, talking about their new products, but also the new products that we had.
Yeah, nice segue. Speaking of, we'll get into kind of what we saw walking around the show, the little bit that I got to, and hopefully you got to some, and just kind of overall vibe of what you noticed, what have been going on, any other companies or brands that might be moving and shaking. But going back to last year's Sand Show, as a small brand kind of coming from an idea and then moving, last year we had a big following. I think I was surprised how many people were coming by our booth, and we didn't have that many products to sell. So I remember like the planning for this year is kind of all the way back to last year. Like, look, we are selling a lot of sun hats. There's a lot of people that know about us that are excited, but we need to get harder on the products. And at that time, and we had already started working with an engineering team that was really solid, who's designed some of the products that we just launched. So, for me, I was telling my wife, and I was like, this is our state championship game, Wes. This is Chupacabra's Super Bowl is the sand show, because you guys see the content. We're having fun. We're screwing off. We're going to races. We're in Glamis, and that's fun. That's part of it. But really, to make this all happen, we are a business. We are a products business, and believe me, I mean, it's hard to do both. But having products, having them ready for the sand show was a huge deal. Luckily, as a whole, we were really able to pull that off to a level that I was happy about. And, that's kind of the buildup and hype and anticipation, what it made it feel like a state championship. And, speaking of my wife, it was definitely a family affair. I mean, thanks to you and your family was amazing and helpful. And my dad and my wife were there, and everyone who we had in our whole crew with the Romos. We had our engineers come hang out with us. Everyone in our booth was it was a great group of people to be around. And that's the best part about this whole thing, is like creating a business, creating what we're creating. We're doing it around people that we want to be around. And that just made me really excited as I kind of reflect on how the weekend went. And then kind of moving into the customers, or the people, all of you, so many people just like the vibe of what we're doing content wise. So many families, so many more ideas of content we can make for kids, we can make for women. I mean, were you surprised like how many strollers, how many families were at this event?
It's crazy. There's tons and tons of families and kids, and it's kind of got like the carnival vibe where you can go over to get your corn dog and just walk around, people, having a drink, this types of things. So it's really cool. It's really a family fun event, but the main thing of it is, man, people are there to buy. Like, they want to buy stuff. I mean, I can't count how many people walk by with, bags and bags, or whips, or, just whatever they were buying, but
a lot of 5150 whips, a lot of rugged radios.
For sure.
I remember I telling our boys, Oscar and the gang at 5150, I'm like, you guys are killing it. Everyone's walking around with 187 whips. And of course, like, I know rugged always crushes. I'm trying to think anything else you saw people walking around with a lot of in their hands.
Those are really big. I mean, the whips are always a big thing. But yeah, a lot of the bigger things you didn't see so much. I mean, like you said, our sun hats. Oh man, it was like there was a line just for them. I don't even know how many we sold, but I guarantee we sold a lot. And it was funny because last year in Arizona, you had a couple of boxes of them. You kind of tested it out, and I think we sold both of those boxes, or 3 of those boxes, in like a matter of like an hour and 15 minutes, because people just saw them. They really didn't care about the brand at the time. They just wanted the sun hat because it was so hot.
Yeah, it was 95 degrees, so I wasn't sure if we sold them just out of luck.
And that's the thing, though, is because I guarantee when they put them on, they felt how comfortable they were. They're probably like, oh, okay, goodbye. But like here, it seemed like in the morning when you had the little haze, a little fog that still need to burn off, they weren't going. As soon as that sun popped out through the clouds, people were like, oh, sun hats. We put them right out front, and then it's like, giving them the selection of the different patterns that they could buy. And, it worked out really good.
We slayed it. We put some new stickers too. I mean, we sold maybe like over 400 and something purchases just for different purchases for stickers. And
that's crazy.
We've got thousands. So if you run into us in the desert, you see Wes in his Chup cars or myself, we're going to be loaded to the gills because we have a lot of stickers still to hook you guys up with and spread the vibe. So we're going to give you stickers. Put them on your dad's truck. Put them on your wife's car. Put them on your whatever, anything, your Tumblr, etc.
Usually what I tell little kids when I hand it to them, I'm like, hey, here's these stickers. Okay, and just so you know, your family has been you have permission to stick them wherever you want. Stick them on your dad's truck, your dad's car, a police car. I don't care. Just stick them wherever you want. Just don't stick them on any type of like artifacts or, hieroglyphics or anything like that where we'll get in trouble, but stick them on every vehicle you can find. And kids love them. Like I noticed that. I noticed all these little kids just, they wanted the stickers, and they came up, and then they saw the mass amount that they could buy in the different, and they're like, oh, I'll take one of those, and I want one of those, and I want one of those. And it seemed like every single purchase, somebody was saying like, oh, I'll take one of those, I'll take one of those. And Yeah, it worked out really good. It's cool to have a variety of those different ones, especially the Chewy ones. Chewy, if you guys don't know, we'll talk about Chewy here in a minute. I'm sure he was there. He's a little high maintenance to some, and to other people, he's a good time. So, but yeah, he made an appearance, so that was cool.
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth. We're going to talk about, kids, family, atmosphere, and that's really kind of what we decided the brand was going to look like. There's a lot of brands in our niche. They're just more of that bro dogger, kind of classic, like, in my opinion, a little played out knockoff of Krusty Demons vibe. And that's cool. That'll always be around. But like, with our content, we don't swear. We want to make videos that kids can watch over and over. We met so many families that watch our Glamorous video, over and over. And just kind of leads the vibe of who we are as people. I mean, you're a family man, I'm a family man, and our whole culture is hugely based on that. So it made me feel good about it. And leading to Chewy, our mascot. It's obviously, we're not hiring girls in miniskirts to pass out stickers. We have a mascot. And speaking of kids, we also had Sierra Romo, our athlete paid racer that races for the Chupacabra, and she did some autographs and really put herself out there, and it was really impressive how many kids came up to her. And one, I want to hear what you think about that, but one of the comments one of our employees said was, man, it was cool to see some younger kids, or particularly girls, coming up and saying, hey, she's a female racer, and having that connection, which I thought was cool. So I thought that was a fantastic move for her, for brand awareness, marketing awareness, to get her name out there to a bunch of off-roaders. Curious to hear what you thought, like what you saw in terms of Chewy going around interacting with the people, and Sierra, and anything else related to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Sierra killed it. I think it was a really good thing for both Chupacabra Offroad and Sierra, and especially even when she wasn't there, her car being in the booth, and, people walk by and they see the little bit of a girl touch to it, the cheetah and the pink and so they know that it's a girl driver. But Romo Motorsports provided a cardboard cutout of her. So when she wasn't signing, it was at the front of the car, so people knew. So they would walk by and they would see that. And then you're absolutely right. There was a lot more, little girls or younger girls or teenage girls or whatever that see that, and then they see that it's a female racer, and they came back when she was signing autographs. She signed several, tons and tons of autographs. And actually at one point there was people saying, when's Sierra going to be here? And, I was kind of like, oh, do you know her? And they're like, no, we know of her and we want to get her autograph and we think it's awesome. And I think it was really good, and I think, putting, Chewy showed up, and I think Sierra went around with Chewy a couple of times, handing out stickers to all the kids and taking pictures and things like that. And I think getting their awareness out there and letting her face be seen, but also, Chewy being out there representing Chupacabra. And, I bet he probably took more pictures than everybody. I mean, even the real famous guys at the show probably didn't get as many pictures as Chewy. That dude couldn't walk 5 feet. I mean, he's a little mischievous at times, messing and making little jokes, but all in all, like you said, it's all about the family. It's all about the kids. Some kids might have been a little scared of him. Sorry, kids. Don't worry. Chewy doesn't bite. He just looks scary.
Entertained their parents, though. When every kid that got scared and cried, the parents thought it was funny.
Yeah, absolutely. No, Chewy didn't get in any fights. No upset mothers or fathers beat him up or anything like that. So that turned out good. But yeah, as far as, having Chewy there was really good. But I think having Sierra there and actually showing, because it was cool to have her race car there and say, so these are the new race mirrors, explaining the new mirrors and explaining the new product, but saying, hey, just so you know, we did a lot of, product testing. I mean, those race mirrors, that first set of race mirrors, although there's been some little changes, not much, have been on that race car for 12 months. I don't know another brand that really would take that amount of time to test a side mirror. You know what I'm saying? So that was a really good thing that we could tell people. And then, you could walk them right over there and they could touch it and move it and see exactly how it worked. I think it worked out really good in all, having Sierra. And also, we got to mention Randy. Randy was there, he's not the prettiest Romo, but he is the king of the Romo. So, it worked out really good.
Yeah, a lot of people do hit, and especially now after seeing the products, Wes, we're getting more race resumes. Oh, yeah.
I can imagine.
Well, if you want to get sponsored by us or catch our attention, well, Sierra is a great person to look at because she put herself out there. She's really trying on social. She really is authentic to the lifestyle. I mean, she is almost like a sponsor's dream, and it's been fun us building our brand up and watching her and trying to hopefully help her where we can to help her. And that's just, it's a great fit. So actually Wes brought us all together. So thanks for that. And Randy, the Rimmel clan, they're amazing people. And, I mean, it's kind of joking, but it is serious. Like I was just on a little talk or a podcast about sponsorship, and, I think what she's doing, and all of our followers are real and authentic. All of hers are. If you look at her engagement numbers, they're crazy. So, again, if you're looking at these people's sponsorship, if you're out there, look at the actual numbers. Don't look at the followers. Look at how people engage with people. Do they comment? Do they like? Do they share? Do they, you know what I mean? That's really what it's about. And anybody with any knowledge of this industry pays close attention like we do. We can tell if people are fishy, and it's a pretty small community. So, just some advice, not to go off on a tangent, but, Sierra's example at the show was just a great way of her really going for it, and seeing a couple parents say, "Oh yeah, you want to get a photo with Sierra?" And I wasn't sure if they were race fans, but that happened a couple of times, and that's the best part. They might not have been a race fan, which is super niche, but they were an off-road enthusiast, and now Sierra is a name in their family that they recognize and remember. So they'll say, "Oh, I knew Sierra a couple of years ago, back in 2021 at the Sand Show," before she goes, superstardom.
And, like you said, I race with her. She's my driver. I'm her co-rider. And watching her grow and watch her come out of her shell, she's still young. She's barely turned 21. So it was really cool. Like you said, it's really about family. It's really about, the uniqueness. So, if you're sending a resume to Chupacabra Offroad, you have to have those, because we're not going to, and Nick's not going to settle for, oh, well, this guy's got, 40,000 followers when, he runs your numbers, and only 50 of them care if you post anything, So going, with Sierra, it's pretty cool to watch. It's pretty cool to watch her to grow out of, her little shell and get out there and, put herself out there, like you said, because it's not easy. It's not easy to put yourself out there. And I'm sure it's particularly different for a female. I can't relate, but
young person.
And exactly, you're not born. Most people aren't born with a lot of social skills where they can just have a conversation with anybody, and that's something you have to learn how to do. And at 21 nowadays, that's, it's usually you're not learning those types of things. So it works out great. So if you guys are listening to this and you send resumes into Chupacabra, just make sure you got your T's crossed and your I's dotted, and,
there's software called Hype Auditor, and we can tell what's phony and what's not.
Exactly.
I think Sierra is crushing. We'll have to get her on the pod here one of these days, and next time you see her, give her a nudge. Maybe we can get her out there to Glamis, because I think that would also help her relate to the community, get some content of her just out having fun in the dunes. I know she loves to do it a couple of times a year as well.
Absolutely. And this one more thing. So a couple of days after the show, her parents are really proud of her. Randy and Claudia, they do so much for her and for the whole program and getting things going. But they posted this picture of Sierra. She's been coming. They're lifelong off-roaders. They've been coming to the Sand Show for 21 years straight, and they posted a picture of her. I think she probably was like 6, and she's standing in front of a monster truck tire. And Claudia mentioned, she's like, it's just warms or melts my heart or something like that to see that, all these little girls that were coming over and trying to, get pictures with her and looking up to her and getting the sticker and, getting that feeling that, oh man, if Sierra can do it, I can do it type of thing. And then she posted that picture of her from when she was 6 years old. And it's like, she went from this little girl going to the Sand Show to get those stickers and to look for those people and to try to take those photos and, find her role models, to now she's turned into one of those role models. And I think, those are big shoes to fill, but she's doing okay,
Yeah, and she's just starting even in her journey as well as she's doing already. It's just the beginning. So, speaking of her, I like the point you brought up. I was tossing back and forth about, first off, how big was our booth going to be? Do we have room for 3 vehicles? And do we even bring a race car to the Sand Show? I always thought it's kind of cool because you have a lot of Dune Queen cars. So having a couple of actual race cars, and I even tended to see a quick run around. I did less pre-runners, obviously less sand cars. So it's cool to see a variety. So, obviously we decided to bring Sierra's car. We put it right out on the side where it was awesome. A lot of people were just kind of checking it out because I think there weren't that many desert cars, maybe another half dozen. But, having you guys test the product was a testament of having the car there, because one of our flagship products was the new race side mirrors, which you guys have been testing for literally over a year. We kind of debuted them to the public last year as a prototype. We got some patent protection. I'm sure there's going to be some copycats kind of trying to emulate what we're doing, but that mirror is something that I think is trying to bring some uniqueness to the mirror market. And like you said, a lot of R&D, a lot of actual race DNA for real. Kind of came from a personal experience. I did a video on the YouTube if you want to learn more about it, but that's kind of from me having a race car, trying to take our old Queros at the time, make them work, and kind of have an idea of what we can do to make a protected framed mirror, which I actually am seeing similar trends, Wes, in the Ultra 4, like rock bouncer market or race landscape. I'm seeing some similar ideas where there's got a cage around a mirror that bolts onto the frame to protect the mirror. Similarly to what we're doing, totally different style, but same vibe. So I feel like we're trying to bring something new to the market in that regard, and also prove that, like you said, we actually race with it. And you two are no slouch in the car, always top 10 competitors, along with Randy, who also tested it, and amongst myself and some other people. So it was amazing to finally bring that to market. And I thought we brought it to market the right way. Me doing a little bit of racing myself, having racers, calling it the race mirror, having a race car at the booth. Having Sierra and the Romo family there, I think, really tied it all together. And that'll always be part of our DNA. I think I'm going to take a break from racing here for a little bit, but I'm a racer. I'll be back. There'll be more racing, or even be helping you guys or doing whatnot. But I think that'll always be a part, because I think as racers ourselves, like, we understand, like, there's nothing that's more difficult on parts and equipment, and being able to have your products be race proven is, I think, how some of us do make race purchase decisions, even if we're not racing.
Absolutely. I think when we're talking about the products and the quality of it, that stands out. Anybody who knows anything about desert racing knows that if you could test a product during desert races and it lasts and it does what it's supposed to do, it's well tested. And it's been about 11 months. I believe we put them on Parker last year, which was in like the third week of October last year, and we've ran them ever since. And we've ran them through the trees of Silver State, obviously the long races of like Vegas to Reno, plus also the rocky, rocks flying all over the place of Parker, to all these different races that we have to, short course where it's just chunks of mud and stuff flying on the infield, down in Laughlin. So it is proven. And, these mirrors, when you look at them, and it's not, like you said, like it's a mirror that looks great on a side-by-side and it has side-by-side function. But I mean, we were able to slap a set on a truck that I think it just made that truck look way cooler. A truck that was running the old Queros and was happy with those. And then you throw these race mirrors on there and it's like, man, okay, now it's game time, And then you think about it, these, mirrors that are on a lot of these race trucks and the bigger vehicles, not just the side-by-sides. And, they're a Car Tech or Off-Road Warehouse standard circle mirror bolted on a protective frame, piece of metal, and that's put on with 2 hose clamps, and they probably cost $100 more than what we're trying to sell a full stylish bill of mirrors. So yeah, man, I'm excited. I'm super excited. I'm happy that, we get trusted to test these things and put them through the works and make sure that, we're putting out the best product that we can.
Yeah, so speaking of which, more mirrors, the actual real mirror that was the star of the show was we redesigned and relaunched our Quero, and we're now calling it the Quero Pro. And actually, Wes he got the first set basically to test. And if you've been paying really close attention on our YouTube channel, you would have seen him. We're always testing parts. Wes has some more parts, and he will have some more parts here, and myself. But the Quero Pro was as we kind of got the race done, our engineer, I said, hey man, like, he did such a great job with the race. I'm like, we got to redesign the Quero, man. Like, we got to step it up, and can we add a light to it? And the first render he came back with was kind of like really what you see, and man, were those things a home run. I mean, we sold out of all of our blacks. Like, we needed so many more blacks that yes. And also we kind of kept that a little bit tighter to our chest. Like I said, if you did watch the YouTube and you had the close eye, but the Queros, we put out a teaser video a week before, and people were lining up. One guy said, Wes, he told my wife, he said, I just got off work. I came to the show to get these before they were sold out on Friday. How cool is that?
That's amazing. And that's what was cool, because we had the race mirrors on the race car, and then my car was over there, and I'm like, people are like, oh, what are these? And, people automatically look at them. They look at like, oh, it's made of metal. Okay, so that's good. And then, they look at the price and they're like, oh, wow. What's
for two of them, or is that for one?
Exactly. How many times did you get asked that? So is that for a pair? And then they're like, well, how much is the light mounts that come with? And I'm like, no, man, it's all in one box. Like, what size do you need? Type of thing. And then to take them over to my car and say, hey, these are them right here. And they're like, oh, wow. And the funny thing is, not to get too much on, the competition and their styles and the things that they go after. But a lot of people, we talked about the integrated light, which a lot of those mirrors look stylish and they're really cool. And I know Baja Designs teamed up with another company and they've integrated one, which is a really good light. We also sell the Baja Design lights. But a lot of people are like, I don't like those because you adjust your mirror, you lose your light. You adjust your light, you lose your mirror. There's no way to get it perfect. And, I know that in the past we've talked about, do we do an integrated type thing? And that seems the way it's going. It just looks really nice, this and that, whatever. But I think we knocked it out of the park, not only with the mirror, but the engineers, they just knocked it out of the park with just a simple way to adapt the light that you want. If you're Baja Design or a Ridgewood or a KC, because it's just like a niche. It's like
or a cheapie light,
yeah,
you can upgrade if you want to spend more money on it.
In the side-by-side community, we're all about customizing. We're all about, oh, I'm a BF Goodrich guy, or I'm a Toyo guy, or I'm a Method guy, or I'm a Raceline, I'm a TMW cage. No, I'm Cageworks. We all have what we like. And the cool thing is they can buy the Chupacabra mirrors and they can do what they want with them. And they can buy the lights that they want and make them their own. And I think people love that. And then when they see the price point, they were just like selling. They're like, wait. And like you said, is this for two? And we're like, yeah. Pretty sure we could have charged them double. And a lot of people would have been like, oh, that's still a great deal. Yeah. So it's just amazing. And I fell in love with those mirrors. I believe we started testing them, January, the mid-January, late January this year. Yeah, Parker. And I remember
putting them on. Before that, I did a couple local rides with them too. I didn't post any photos,
but man, and the adjustability and just everything, the rigidity. There's no vibration. It's just all around a great mirror.
Yes, everybody. Wes called it. He's like, the race mirrors are cool, but these are going to be the home run, and he was right. From a sales perspective, they have been.
So
not too hot, not too cold, just right price and style.
And be patient, people. You're listening to this. Believe me, we wanted to have more and more and more. Believe me. So it's worth the wait. The price is worth the wait. If you feel like you could find a better mirror for that price point with the same quality, go ahead.
Because I'm
telling you right, you won't.
Selling plastic mirrors for $190. So just saying.
Okay, and I have to tell this story because it was about the funniest thing ever. Okay. I'm not going to mention what it was. I'm just going to mention our side of it because, I'm not here to badmouth people. So 2 gentlemen walked by holding a bag. They just purchased some mirrors inside at another booth. They paid $250. They came over and checked out our product, specifically the Quero Pro. And I was talking to them. Another person was talking to them. And basically, they're like, how much are these? And we told them, $165. It comes with the light mount. You can also purchase lights, or you can do what you want. You don't have to run the light, those types of things. And you should have saw the look on their face because they had just paid $250 for a set of plastic mirrors at another retail vendor inside. And I feel bad for them. Honestly, it's crazy. And, I keep telling people, I'm like, we are off-road. We do this. We go out, we ride, we spend our hard-earned money on this. We go to the desert, we go to the mountains, we go to Glamis, we go to Moab, we go all these places because this is what we love to do. And it is a business. It is meant to make money. But at the same time, it's not meant to say, okay, we feel as though our mirrors are worth $2,000. We're going to sell them for $2,000. It's meant to make it to where we can sell a product that's quality at a quality price to make people happy, to where we can have a good relationship with people, and we don't sell junk. And I think that a lot of the competition are going to be like, crap, we got this junk that we're trying to sell, and it's only a matter of time before this small company comes in and just takes over, and it's happening.
Yeah, at the risk of this sounding like a big commercial for selling you guys more mirrors, I
I know,
mean,
right? We
we
can
do
just shut
have to
up.
pay the bills, but it is kind of more the topic of this podcast, where we are a company that sells products and we launched some new products and we're really excited about them. And they have both had a really good response. So a
Yeah.
lot of speed people came over and ended up buying some of the
Yep.
race mirrors. We weren't exactly 1,000% sure on the A plus pillar of a speed, so I gave one of the speed guys one of our 1.5 clamps. I said, I'm pretty sure on one of Robbie's shows, he said it's 1.5.
Uh-huh.
I think if you have a car with an A plus pillar, you want to mount them on that because if you
Yes,
put them on the
absolutely.
front pillar, it's just harder to see, especially if you're
Right.
in a window nuts. So I gave him a clamp. I'm like, go pop it on. But like I said, be careful. Like put the plastic so you don't scratch one of the tubes on there. And he went and tested. He came back. He was like, "Yep, it's 1.5." And then he bought a mirror. And then I had a bunch of other speed guys come over. Like, what's up with
Yeah.
these mirrors? I'm like, if you have an A plus pillar, you're gonna want the race.
Yeah.
1.5 is the size. We probably sold like 10 or 15 sets just to the speed guys.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's really cool. Is because another thing that people didn't realize, they're like, oh, like, well, do you have them for this or do you have them for that? And it was so easy with the universal clamping system that we have now that it's like, what kind of car do you have? And people will be like, oh, I have an X3, and I'll be like, stock cage or aftermarket. And knowing that information, they're like, oh, I got an aftermarket CageWorks cage. I'm like, okay, it's 175. Boom, go inside. Boom, boom, boom. Here's your mirrors. Here's your clamps. Here you go. Or the guy's like, I got a Pro and it's 2-inch. Oh, here's your 2-inch clamps, or 1.5, or the 175, which is or the 1.875 Can-Am. Having all that just made it so simple, so easy. And that clamp, showing the other products that we're gonna have coming out, you're gonna have coming out, and showing them, it's like, I'm like, it's a universal thing, man. This clamp's for this, for this, for this, for this, for this. Like, so excited.
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought that up because hint, hint, wink, wink. We have a lot of products that we decided not to show that link up with this clamp system. So part of the challenge of designing these new mirrors to make them awesome in all the ways that we kind of brought up and we've documented, if you want to watch on YouTube or on our website. But also the clamp system had to be dialed where it was universal and be thoughtful about that clamp system that's easy to put on and that we could use with a lot of different products. And then also some variations, C-clamps, product-specific mounts like an X stock cage. Hang tight, guys. We got some stuff coming. Maverick Sport, Polaris Ranger, Can-Am Defender. We've already been scanning these vehicles. We already have prototypes we've been testing. We just want to make sure they're dialed before we launch them. A little where we're going, but that clamp is going to lead to a lot of other products. So stay tuned for those guys. But it almost it was hard, Wes, because we also launched 2 new side mirrors, 2 new center mirrors, which is how our company started with a center mirror. And our 16-inch Super Deluxe center mirror is so good. It's got so much convex. And it's really adjustable, which is how I like to do it because I like to get the mirror tweaked so much that I can see evenly out of each side. So I hope people enjoy that product too and know that we have it and it doesn't get lost in the mix. And it's probably a good thing we didn't launch more products because between those, between the excitement, between the clothing, and between a couple other products that we're talking about, that we showed some people that we'll talk about now, we just had a lot of excitement. So
for sure.
One other product we have that's in the back of your car now that you'll continue to test, I've been testing, is our new rear storage rack, which fits the ever so popular Milwaukee Packout adjustable boxes. So we've seen that trend happening, and I really wanted to create something. The challenge was those Milwaukee Packouts are too wide that they don't sit flush in the back of your Razor, Turbo, 1000, etc. So we ended up making our own elevated quick release mount because I'm a big stickler about being able to clean out your air filter. Kids, clean your air filter every ride.
Yes.
And you need to create a storage solution that I think is like the right amount of storage for tools, the right amount of cooler space. And I mean, I've been driving Razors for like 7 years, man. So I should be able to figure this out by now. And that's kind of where we're at so far. So what are your thoughts? What were customers saying when we showed them that product?
So showing this product, first off, like, the product's so nice. It's the reason why I like it so much is, like you said, being able to remove it in an instant without unbolting everything. It's just perfect. The fact that you can put this little rack in there, it locks and is very sturdy, and it can be removed, so you can pull your air filter and everything like that without even pulling a bolt.
Sturdy enough to withstand a rollover in Moab.
Absolutely, yes. Tested in Moab for a rollover, so it worked really well. So this last weekend, I was able to take it out and go bombing through the Nevada desert and doing everything. I actually overloaded my pack out box and put everything I could in it, filled it to the brim. It honestly probably weighs 45 pounds, no joke. And I locked it in there, went bombing through, tested everything. It was locked in there. It didn't move an inch. And so I was really stoked about that. Made sure Nick knew and sent him some pictures and things like that. But this box is really cool. So the way that it's designed is that, you have these two mounting points up front with a tooth style lock in, and then a pin that locks into the frame that mounts to the cage. And we don't even waste any space because Nick being Nick, he can't waste any space. And he had the engineers and they designed a bag that can hold a belt. I think I put my belt in there, and I think I put a toe strap in there. Slides perfectly underneath the thing, so you don't lose any of that. In the pack out, I was also able to use my low rise CageWorks spare tire holder, not the high one, which I used to have on my other car, but the low one. And with the middle size pack out, I'm able to put the middle size pack out and close it and still have room in the back for a cooler, a soft cooler. So I am super stoked, beyond stoked, because that box keeps everything so nice. I've always carried like a little bag and then put it in the player storage box, and then it rips holes in the bag and your sockets get everywhere, and just things like that. And I'm so excited. It's the cleanest thing. It's completely covered by the spare tire. Like, so stoked. So stay tuned. It'll be coming out soon. And I'm telling you, people, you'll love it. You'll enjoy it. And especially if you have a Razor, it's one of the cleanest storage systems and simplest storage systems I found. You're not going to break the bank on a $500-$600 metal box that is bolted in, that you have to unbolt every time you want to check your oil, your air filter. So good job again, Nick and the engineers.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like our mirrors. We want to make things modular and adjustable, and that's the beauty of the Milwaukee pack out. I think Milwaukee's really like enjoying their heyday right now. I swear, Wes, it's like the new Coach bag for men.
Yeah.
But Milwaukee tools, I mean, I have an Impact that it's an amazing piece of kit. The battery lasts forever. So
yes.
I'm not a guy who makes my living with my tools, but I understand why guys, especially that do, or just guys that want quality, and we all need tools, are just in love with Milwaukee. And the pack out system is so modular. They've got the cooler, they've got the stereo. You can add the foam if you're OCD to protect your impact. Like, there's so many things you can do with it. Add a little one with just all your loose, nuts and bolts, whatever.
Yes.
And a lot of guys too, Wes, I mean, we don't want to get caught in our own bubble of the Southwest. A lot of guys across the whole country, they don't even run spare tires, but they will stack those boxes up and carry all kinds of things. So that's the modular way of making it adjustable and make it working for hopefully as many of you as possible.
Absolutely. And, if you saw the car at the sand show, I kind of regretted not bringing my spare tire holder, because then I could have showed that, to the people. But we had the spare tire holder off. We had the big box, the medium box, and the small box all stacked on there, and we were pulling them on and off and showing. I was making sure people everywhere, and when they knew about it, because people were asking, I'm like, hey, let me show you something cool we got coming out, and I would take my time to go show them, and with all three big boxes, because you're right, like, there's a lot of people back east, and not even as far back east, even the mountain guys, a lot of them don't carry spare tires, and they want that extra storage. They want to be able to have the extra storage and extra stuff that they carry. And so I think you guys knocked it out of the park, especially for the Razor. It's awesome.
Milwaukee just needs to make some blackout boxes, man. Not everybody likes red. So.
I don't think they're going to, because it's just like Chupacabra, man. We're going to run teal. Sorry, we're not going to make, and that's our thing. Like, I would love to have it wrapped teal or something like that, just to match the car, because that's just thing. But yeah, I'd rather have a red one than not one. So
it's good for sales, because everyone will see that it's a Milwaukee box from 50 feet away.
Yeah, for sure.
So, that kind of, we talked about some product releases, like I said, this, the mirrors, what we're known for, right? Aluminum, we're evolving. This new setup is going to involve a lot more aluminum accessories you guys are going to see over the next 6 months. But obviously, people also know us for our storage, starting off from door bags. So that was an important component. And then another component that I was most excited about was our new B2G rear storage for the Can-Am X3. Now, this is an idea I've had for a while, paying attention to Facebook groups, watching guys like try to custom make it. And a lot of people love the Can-Am, right? It's an amazing car. And we can all agree the shortcoming in the back of that car is storage. So, being somebody like myself, like, hey, I'm never going to buy a Can-Am 4-seater because it's too long and I hate it. I hate how it looks. I hate everything about the Can-Am 4-seater. But I love the Can-Am 2-seater. And could we build a car out that you could go take on an Arizona Peace Trail, Baja trip? And there's certain more accessories that have kind of made that potentially possible. So the rear storage that we're working on, the AGM Products fuel kit, which runs like another 8 gallons underneath the seats. Now all of a sudden, like, you could really take a 2-seat car, which is almost impossible, and have room for cooler, tools, spare tire, clothing maybe with a roof rack and fuel, and go knock out, a 500-mile Baja pre-run like we did in a 2-seat Can-Am. So that was kind of the thought process behind the B2G, and a lot of hours of engineering, and then a frantic last few weeks before the show of bending tubes, of custom making that box. And we got our first prototype to the show. We have sold a few, and we have some dealer interest, and we're working on some iterations, particularly it's a rear storage box if you guys haven't seen it. It bolts onto the back of your Can-Am X3. You have to run a side muffler. We're taking that dead space that's inside of the muffler, and we're taking off the stock bed, but we're also giving you a huge storage box, which is big enough for a Yeti 35 cooler, plus tools, plus it holds a full-size spare tire up to a 33-inch. And in my opinion, it's low, it's stylish, it kind of has some of more of that race look and DNA. Lower center of gravity, your car is going to handle better. You see, a lot of you guys at Off-Road, you see these Can-Ams. Even Wes, you've seen it, like, we're tall guys, and the people put the coolers on the stock bed. They can barely even reach into their cooler to grab a drink. And they run the spare tire on top of that, and it looks ridiculous. And it's like, gosh, I would never want to own a Can-Am and have it built like that. So, like, I want to be the change I want to see in the world. So be it. And we worked through this product, and it's a huge shift for us of where we're going to be heading with other products. And it was cool to get it out there and see how people received it.
Absolutely. I showed countless people it, and especially when people said that they had 2-seater X3s, I made sure that I took them over just to show them what we're working with, because like you said, you followed the Facebook feeds and the different things like that, and people that build these custom ones, these fabricators and stuff like that, and we're talking $5,000-$6,000 for a rear compartment like that, which they look really nice, and I'm not knocking those at all. I mean, but $5,000 or $6,000 is a big deal when you're talking about one thing. And the cool thing is about this is, you have a spare tire holder, you have your storage compartment, and you have your bumper, and it all comes in one unit. You do take out the rear box, you do lose that, but what do people really use that for on a 2-seater or even a 4-seater Can-Am? They don't. They can't fit a spare tire there. I know one company that makes a spare tire rack that goes right on top and mounts to the stock points, which is really nice and clean, but then you don't have a storage container. A lot of the good solutions only solve one or maybe two problems. Yeah,
beautiful tire racks, like you said, you lose the cooler spot.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So a lot of people showed a lot of excitement. And they looked at the different ways. And the cool thing is the engineers thought about how mounting it, and they worked really good on making it a solid thing. They also made it to where brackets to where your fenders won't flop around. I mean, they thought of a lot. So once this thing is fine tuned and people start seeing it, I mean, I can't see. I would, if I had an X3, 2-seater X3, for sure, I'd go on there. There's no other question why, because you're going to spend the amount of money you're going to spend on a rear bumper, a storage container, and a spare tire holder. It's like, it doesn't make any sense to spend money on those things when you could just buy one unit and have it. And most of the X3s, when they put the exhaust on it, because you do offer the exhaust out the side. I have to say, the X3s sound really good with exhaust. I don't like Razor exhaust. I would never put an exhaust on my Razor just because I don't like the way that motor sounds with an exhaust. As far as a play car goes, I mean, obviously for a race car, you do it for performance and things like that. But an X3, they sound pretty mean. That 3-cylinder sounds pretty mean with an exhaust. So
yeah, I found another company that's actually local that has a side exhaust with a muffler. So we're going to try it out. Could be another option. It's a little bit louder than stock, but it does have a muffler. So, again, kind of some of that race, which you see a lot of race car Can-Ams, they lower the tire down low, weight as low as possible, right? So you can see, and it handles better. And, I'll just kind of, you don't have to answer this. It's kind of above our pay grades, but some people do think that having weight over the back end of that car helps that car settle a little bit. And I have seen a couple race car builders. I don't know if it's Fortin, Wes, who builds X3 chassis, but one or two of them do have a fuel cell behind the axles, correct? And there is a debate, like in the even with some race trucks or just kind of weight distribution, maybe 10 cars, etc., of where the weight goes, and some people are trying to put fuel behind the axle. So I don't know what you think.
So specifically for a race car, Austin Whalen, who I know from racing, has just built a new car this season. It was built by Tesco, and they built the chassis. Obviously, Tesco, people know Tesco. They come from the trophy truck background. They build really good trophy trucks. A lot of winning trophy trucks they built. And they built this car for him. They built it to hold 2 spare tires, which in the side-by-side game, that's kind of weird. I don't know anybody that carries 2 tires. Well, they built it for the 2 tires. So he goes out and he shock tunes with SDG, the shock development group. And, they get his shocks all tuned, dialed, and he's running 1 spare. And he's in Placer City, and he's just amazing, these guys. Because SDG comes from, once again, big trucks, buggies, those types of things. That's what they do. And they're kind of getting the side-by-side game just a little bit. And I was talking to the owner of SDG, and he was explaining to me how well that car worked. In an instance, Austin asked him, said, what would happen if we threw that second spare tire on there? Like, maybe we'd need it for Baja, maybe we don't. And so they just told him the more weight that you have down there, the better it's going to work through the big stuff. So they threw it on there, and I think he gained 5 miles an hour through the test section. Now, that doesn't mean he's going to run it every time, but that goes to say what you were just talking about, Nick, that having that tire, having it a little bit lower, having that stable over the rear, that really can help the driving ability or the driving of that car and help it to work even better. Now, everybody knows I'm a Polaris guy, and that's good, but I'm telling you right now, the Can-Am X3, the 2-seater chassis, is the perfect chassis.
Magic wheelbase.
It's magic. And Polaris knows that, and that's why they came out with the, Pro XP, with that wheelbase. But up until then, the X3 2-seater was the wheelbase for at least the desert and the Southwest. Now, a lot of you guys, in different formats, but when it comes to desert and Southwest, that was it.
Yeah, so speaking, just one more thing to add on that car, I think what's interesting is that car had so much travel and so much shock stroke for a lightweight UTV that I remember when I shot a lot of footage from UTV World Championships in 2019, I got all this beautiful 4K footage in slow-mo. And obviously Blurton's car, because it's tuned by Wayne Israelson, works perfect and it just sticks. And a lot of those other X3s back then, they just kind of they looked like they were unsettled, like there was too much rebound. They just didn't stick like Phil's car, and obviously Phil was driving faster through there than anybody at that time, and probably still does. But again, I'm excited to ask my shock tuner that, Wayne, once he retunes my new car and every other car I ever own. But I think that might lead to why that weight helps that car, because it is kind of unusual. It's such a lightweight little 2-seater with so much shock stroke. So each car has its own little special sauce that I'm sure people will figure out over time, particularly the racers. So either way, that could help lead to a little bit of the DNA of the B2G, of having the rack, having the weight low. Because if I want to go to Baja, right, you go on these long trips, you have to carry all your stuff. You don't want to have to slow down and worry about your tire falling.
No, you don't.
You want to be able to go at a good pace and drive, because that's why you have these things. And you go on some of these big rides that have big whoops. And I've been on my I'll go for a Rocky Point ride. Guys lose tires and guys break stuff. It's you're carrying all this stuff and you're hitting sand whoops. So you just
what do you expect exactly?
Find products that you can have what you need and still be able to drive how you want to drive.
And I think once it's finalized, once the rack is 100% finalized and ready to go, I can see it just selling like crazy. I can see people being interested in it. It's only going to take a matter of time before people see it. Obviously, you talking about going to the dark side will obviously probably have one. And so you'll be able to advertise it out there and be able to promote the product, and so people can see it. So if you guys see my beautiful car at Glamis or wherever, Nick's probably right next to me somewhere with a not so beautiful car. So
great segue. So Can-Am. So I got to walk around the booth a little bit. I went into Can-Am's booth. I thought they had a good booth. They had, they were playing music with a DJ. They had, but what was interesting is they had a 2022 on display, right? The new one that's blue and white. And I was looking at it close because I wanted to look at the differences. So I did sell my Razor, and my goal was to buy a 2-seat Can-Am and run it here for a little while to test the B2G, do some development, do some rides, help get that product really dialed. And then, until the speed shows up, whenever that may be. But in the booth, the 2022 Can-Am had a couple 2022 parts on it. Like they upgraded the new rear radius rod box, how it bolts onto the chassis now, which is great. Right. But I started looking at everything else. I asked the guy at Can-Am, and the guy's like, oh, yeah, those A-arms aren't the new 2022 A-arms, and it doesn't have the new double sheared knuckles yet. And technically, that's just kind of like a band-aided 2021 that looks like a 2022. So I've heard, I mean, they're not even carb certified in California yet, Wes. And then when the first day we got to the show, one of the shop owners that I know really well said that his shipments, which were supposed to hit in October, got pushed back to January. So I just spent all day calling around trying to find a 2-seat X3, bro, and they are almost impossible. Now, I'm not going to buy a Smart Shock because, I guess I do love the live valve. I love that feature, but my suspension tuner says the Can-Am really doesn't work that good. So I just want the RR
Right,
model.
the basic and get it tuned up.
Yeah, I'll have it tuned by Wayne, and it'll be awesome. And I love the tunability with the high and low speed compression. You know me, I'm a suspension dork.
Yeah, for sure.
Dude, they were not joking. There are none. I called every dealer in Arizona. Of course, I called all the partners that sell our products. Matt in Vegas and Temecula in California, Fun Bike Center, of course, Nash. Coin.
And nobody's getting them.
Well, they're not getting any 2022s until the very earliest, maybe a couple in November or late October if they're lucky. Bro, there are, like, I'm probably going to end up getting a red and silver XRC, and I might have to drive all the way to Mesquite to go get it.
Wow. That's crazy.
Wow.
So there must be something must be holding them up. It doesn't make sense that they would talk about this and release, do a release and talk about everything, and then
it's supply chain all related to this COVID stuff. So all of you customers that are busting our chops about not having mirrors, everyone's dealing with it. Like Polaris, we're waiting on pins and needles to see the rest of the Polaris lineup. I think a big part of it is like, hey, we can't release stuff if we can't ship it. And imagine Can-Am now. Like, there's going to be no units to be had, man. If you want to buy a new rig this year, like in the next 3 or 4 months, good luck. You're going to be like me. You're going to be paying through the nose.
Do you think it has anything to do with that big fire down in Mexico? It seems like they brushed that under the rug and said it wasn't that big of a deal, but that fire is huge. Like, you could see the units. You could see the amount of units that were burned. Like, there was a lot. Do you think it maybe has anything to do with that?
I think so, a little bit. I think I thought someone said it was like 1,000 cars, which equates to 6 days on the production line. So you start to listen to those numbers like, geez, that production line can crank out some units. But I think that is still kind of small potatoes in the grand scheme because that's going all over the country. I think it's supply chain. I mean, I heard a rumor that they were looking for switches, Can-Am, a while ago and hitting up aftermarket companies to find switches for the dash. So, I think this is like we're all dealing with it as a whole of everything we want to buy. Everyone wants to buy everything right now. You can't buy a bicycle. You can't buy a pickup truck. You can't buy a UTV, man. And these dealers got their allocation slashed. So a lot of people I saw were commenting how there was no good deals at the sand show this year, Wes. Like, what did you expect? The deal was, we have it in stock. Do you want it or not? People were saying like, oh, this dealer is selling Can-Ams for this much and that much, and this is ridiculous. And I get they're used to like 2019 prices, but I still heard through the grapevine that those dealers sold a ton of units. So it's just supply and demand. And if you don't want to pay the prices, man, then hang tight. Like, it is what it is.
I think a lot of people probably, when it comes to sand show, they probably save their pennies and they're like, oh, I'll just wait till sand show. I'll wait till sand show. Walk into one of those big dealers that always puts a ton of vehicles in the sand show, and they think they're going to walk away with one. Well, I walked through there and I couldn't believe the prices on some of those, which you're right, though. It's supply and demand. I was at a local dealership last Friday. I had to stop by and grab something real quick, and they didn't have a single new side-by-side, and they are a Polaris Can-Am Honda dealership. And I'm not just talking like the sports side-by-sides. I'm talking about any side-by-side. Everything they had out front were used. And I was just like, holy cow. Now, the inside, they were full of motorcycles and things like that, but not one brand new side-by-side to show.
And you were like all crazy. You were bummed out because, and now I'm sure you're super thankful. Wes just got a Turbo S, 4 months ago? Like, you're so lucky to have got, no one's getting Turbo S's at all.
No, and everybody I know that had them on order, they basically got a hold of them and said, hey, you're probably not going to see this until late November, late December. So do you still want it? Because, trying to basically talk them out of it. Like, would you rather have a Pro XP, those types of things. And a lot of people are switching like, well, when can I get it? Because a lot of people are like, man, I want my car. Like, I want something. I don't want to wait a year or 6 months or whatever for them, but a lot of people are, because it seems like you can get a Pro XP, but you can't get a Turbo S. So I don't know, it's crazy. And then the fact that Polaris, had dropped the Turbo S from their lineup, they really don't have to fulfill those orders, but they're not going to piss people off. So they're going to fulfill the orders that they have. People will still get their orders for what I've been told, but they have been working strong to talk people into another model.
Yeah.
Which, because if I heard, I mean, this is probably not true or anything, but the rumor I heard is the reason why Polaris couldn't get their cars out was the vinyl in the seats. They couldn't find it. So the car's sitting there with no seats because they can't get the seats made. Which
I'm
it's probably
rumors like
multiple
other
things.
OEMs stock shocks, switches, whatever it may be.
Crazy.
Who knows what it is?
Crazy time we live in right now. Everybody's got the money to spend, but there's nothing to buy.
Yeah, so you guys heard it here first. I will be joining the dark side. I don't have it in my garage right now, but probably before the next pod, I will have a canned ham. And we're gonna have to fix the bump steer. We're gonna have to make sure the front end don't fall off, etc. But no, I'm excited to drive it and kind of use that to develop more products and develop our B2G and other things that we've been working on. But
Absolutely.
Speaking of waiting for a unit and the dark side, we can't talk about the Sand Show without talking about the real belle of the ball, the Speed UTV. So Robbie had a huge crowd on Friday. I swear it seemed like it was pretty popping for a Friday, but a ton of people were over at Speed. It was elbow to elbow, and then obviously finally, if you guys didn't see, living under a rock, Robbie finally showed up with 4 pre-production cars. To see. So did you go sit in one? Did you you went and looked at it? Did you get what did you look? What was your thoughts? Because we never really chatted. I know you went over there, but what do you think about it?
I mean, I didn't go over it with a fine-tooth comb because I didn't really have that time. I did look it over. There's a few things that, I was like, but then I really have to give him credit on the fit and finish. The interior.
Okay, so list of things that you thought was great and list lots.
Okay, so let's I didn't, like I said, I didn't get to spend a lot of time over there. I didn't have a lot of time. I was kind of walking in and out type of thing.
And then just for context, all you listeners, I'm the Speed believer. Wes is the Speed skeptic. So
yes,
we're going to give you a good debate of both sides. So let's hear the skeptic pros and cons of what you saw at the show.
Just I don't believe in unicorns. I don't believe in things I can't see, so it was good to be able to see something finally. It's easy to post videos from North Carolina and every week and get people hyped up about designs, which I'm hyped up about them too. If Robbie's going to do half of what he said, I'm excited, but so first off, I went and I was able to look at the interior. It was there, like I said, there was big crowds and stuff like that. So it was kind of like you're pushing your way through. The fit and finish, just right off the bat, I've always liked Robbie's seats, race style seats. I really like them. They're always like that suede, and they look good with the diamond stitching. Really nice seats, real tight, firm. Not a big cushiony seat. I don't like a big cushiony seat. I like a seat that holds me. It's comfortable. And that one is kind of like a comfort / race seat. And he's built it to race. Everybody knows he's talked about this car as being built to race.
And it's way cooler than any other stock seat anyone has ever seen in any UTV.
Absolutely. Give him credit for sure.
It's cool. You feel like a racer if you hop into it. I have a fake race chair, right, for my desk, and it's cool to hop into a race seat no matter who you are.
Absolutely. And so the seats, I noticed them right off the bat, and those have been around for a long time. He used to put some of those in the Arctic Cats or the Triple X, whatever you want to call them. And they're really nice. The dash looked really clean. I didn't see it with the key on. I didn't get to see everything operable and things like that. But all the fit and finish of the interior, talking seats, harnesses, the dash,
inner doors,
all that stuff, the shifters, everything looked really, really good. I have to tell him, the fit and finish looked good. It didn't look cheap. Like I said, I didn't go over it to fine-tooth comb. I wasn't tapping it and things like that for the thickness of the plastic, or I wasn't grabbing the dash and wiggling it. But just from the aesthetic look of it, looked really good. Obviously, all those pictures or people have posted, the haters, about the welds and this and that, whatever. But these are pre-production cars. I really don't care. Obviously, I would assume Robbie wouldn't release a car that the welds looked as bad as they did. Obviously, we saw the wheel with the valve stem sticking out. You see all these bad things that people are posting because you got the Robbie supporters and you got the Robbie haters. And those are just the two groups. There's really nobody in between. Mm-hmm. The one thing that I didn't understand, and I know that this is a design that he's designed, is the way that the upper arms on the front upper arms mount. Now, from looking at it, they mount to a cast front diff box. Mm-hmm. and it's cast? Because I know that at one point it was supposed to be billet, or is that
These
just a certain
are
model?
billet, and these are pressure cast, and they do a little machine work on them. Yeah.
And the thing it is that I know about cast, cast can be very, very strong, but cast aluminum is, it's a brittle thing. Unless if it gets any types of cracks or anything like that, it can be a very brittle thing. Like it's something you could take a hammer to, and you can
like as brittle as a Can-Am single shear front end.
No, not that. No, not
as brittle as a
paper.
car that goes 80 miles an hour off the showroom floor with a single shear front end, like that brittle, or
no. And remember, you're going to buy one of these, so you got to be careful. But no, and so I just don't understand that design, because it doesn't mount to the chassis; it mounts to that box, or to that cast box. And I'm like, okay, up and down in my brain, and I could be completely wrong. Like Robbie knows more than I do for sure, but up and down, I think the wheel travel will be fine. But what happens if you're hitting a big bump? Like you're hitting the hard part of a bump, and it's pushing your wheels backwards. If it's pushing them back, that stress is all on that. And I'm just thinking that the cast would crack, or I just don't understand it. And obviously, it could have an metal frame in it or something. I don't know, or something.
So the whole design is a little concerning to use.
That concerned me. Cage
real
looked really
quick
good
on the front diff. I guess the official explanation from Robbie in the camp is that front diff is actually 3 big major components. So let's say you have a catastrophic, you rip a front wheel off, and you did tweak one of those pieces. You wouldn't have to buy the whole diff if you just bent
one side.
Yeah, let's say. But obviously the chat as a whole is like, well, if you're beating that up, you're probably in really deep trouble if you've tweaked that. So remains to be seen, because Joe Customer is going to go get him, and they're going to run him into a ditch, 6-foot ditch going 70 miles an hour. We will find out. Yep. Okay, so that was a concern of yours. Okay, the web.
And then another positive was
stem. What else was
another positive? Another positive was the shocks. Now, anybody that knows Robbie and knows the history of Robbie Gordon and the Robbie Gordon trucks, for instance, like the most epic truck ever in off-road, still the Riviera truck, it's a single shock internal bypass shock, way far ahead of its time. But that truck doesn't have external bypasses, which most trucks off-road do now, because I believe they're more efficient. But that trophy truck was built with one massive, just humongous shock in the fronts. And it was really awesome. Well, Robbie has always had that technology, still runs it on his trophy truck, and he brought it over the speed. And what is it, a 4-inch shock? Like it's just huge. It's just massive, which means more fluid, probably better stroke.
High and low speed rebound and compression dampening.
Exactly. So when you're like a suspension guru like Nick, and Nick, just so everybody knows, Nick got this way from mountain biking. In mountain biking, suspension is everything. Having your suspension dialed in mountain biking. People don't know Nick was, a really, really good downhill mountain biker, and he was really big in the suspension. Brought that over to motocross. Now into side-by-sides. I was impressed with the shock, the sheer size of the shock. Coming stock, that's the thing.
Yeah.
I don't know who we call it, coming stock.
One quick point on that. So the Riviera trophy truck, we are friends with the LeDuc family, which is a very prominent, fast off-road racing family. And Kyle LeDuc, who's probably the fastest off-roader in the U.S., maybe in the world right now, he got to race the Riviera truck at the 2016 Baja 1000. But either way, to go back a little bit in the story, Kyle's dad, Kurt LeDuc, who's a OG Baja off-road racing legend, drove the Riviera truck a couple times, and he talked about how that truck was set up. That was Robbie's car, and he said you had to drive that thing like a supercross bike, right? Like you had to get on top of stuff and just hammer it. You had to drive it like Robbie for it to work right. Because then he started driving a Geyser after that, and he said a Geyser, like he could just drive with one hand, and it was like a big cream puff. So Robbie had these characteristics of these tuning of the Riviera back then. But just a little observation of we had heard through the grapevine, people have actually driven the Riviera. So, but like you said, amazing. The shocks are one of the main reasons.
Exactly.
So likes or dislikes.
Yeah. So piggybacking on that, like that shock now though, like a single shock front end on a trophy truck doesn't work. They've surpassed that. It's definitely, but so make sure everybody don't think that I think that's the system, because it's not. But a big shock like that, and they don't look like they're too heavy. So I think that's a plus, a good design for them. But I don't think that was a shocker to anybody that knows Robbie. They knew that it would be a big shock and be like that. The bed size is pretty cool. It's huge. I mean, it's basically, it's basically a Polaris Ranger bed, except for it doesn't dump. And I know I've seen some of the pictures of the different configurations and the boxes and the accessories that you can buy and get your spare tire in there perfect and things like that. So I thought that was really cool. It's got a little tailgate on it and things like that. So that's about all I was able to really go after. I wanted to kind of look at the tires and things like that because I know that, he had flirted with other manufacturers for tires to help him out. And then it ended up no deal ever was made. So he went and just made his own tire. Robbie, if people aren't going to help him, he'll just do it himself. That's what's cool about Robbie. But the overall car, it looked good. It was big. The front clip was really nice. I saw pictures of it with the lights on and things like that, and really cool. The outline lights and things like that, kind of like the Fang lights on the Turbo S. When that came out, it became iconic for Polaris to have the Fang lights, and now you got companies like 5150 and stuff like that make kits for the Fang lights, so you can make them custom and things like that. So overall, the speed, once it's released, we're not going to know what the problems are going to be with it. But I just still feel, though, a company as large as Can-Am, a company as large as Polaris or Honda, they still have their issues when the car is released. And I don't think Robbie's going to be exempt. And the problem that I think that Speed's going to have is the fact that he's not going to be able to accept that. Robbie as a person is not going to be able to accept that something needs to be fixed or something needs to be recalled. A company like Polaris, it's business. They're going to, if something's broken, it's going to cause a big financial problem with lawsuits and things like that, they're going to make a recall and they're going to fix it. I don't see that with Speed. If something breaks like that and it continues to break and break and break, somebody like Robbie Gordon is just going to say, oh, it's your fault because you did this or you did that and you did this. I think that's where Robbie's downfall is going to be. Hopefully he mellows out a little bit. I mean, people pick on him a lot, and I can't say I don't laugh, but, Robbie, if you're listening, we're all happy that you're doing this. Even your haters are happy that you're doing it because it's going to push what other manufacturer to go a little bit further. So, but you gotta just let it roll off your shoulders because a lot of these internet trolls, they don't know what they're talking about anyway. So don't get offended.
They don't even know what a compression.
I mean, somebody making fun of his robot, and it's like he was making fun of his mom or something. Like, come on, you're all right. So, all in all, final thing, all in all, get the car done. Let's see it when it's done.
So what Wes is saying, you guys, for the audience, is he's really impressed. He's more impressed than he thought he would be. He was ready to come at it with his pitchfork, and it's actually a nicer and cooler car than you expected.
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably just carry my pitchfork. I wouldn't poke it. So, but the thing of it is you're talking. It's just all talk, and until you put up, I just can't be bothered with it because, I want him to push the envelope. I want him to push the envelope. Doesn't mean I'm going to go at a speed, but it means that somebody else might be making something cool. So
I want to give my quick feedback. I did a video on it. I was so tired from Saturday. I had no energy. I wasn't very articulate. I was pretty fuzzy. But basically, the seating position has a ton of room, especially if you're a big wide dude. Ton of headroom, Wes, even if you're our height.
Okay.
But I also think that that's going to be harder to see over the hood than a Razor in rock crawling situations, for sure. Most people don't really care about that because there's a bunch of Can-Am owners. Right?
Yeah, they can't. I was going to say Can-Am is very hard to see.
You can adjust the seats or whatever. So
right.
I think that will be a challenge. The doors obviously didn't have good fit and finish. They were notchy. But because you sit so down in it with all that headroom, the doors come up really high, almost to your shoulder.
Really?
I thought the fit and finish on the inside was better than I expected because I felt like they've kind of been hiding that from us this whole time. They didn't really have finished door panels with actual good shots until the show, and they had a kind of a fake carbon fiber-y look. And I thought it looked good. I thought the dash was going to be really plain, but it's just efficient and nice. I still prefer the Polaris for the passenger, just the oh crap handle in the middle, and they don't have that. But nobody else does either. I just think that's perfect. But I think the fit and finish is better than I expected. They got to fix the doors. Obviously, the couple of the welds people had a heyday on. But to be fair, Robbie has been calling out the competition's welds and saying how good his welds are going to be. So, if you dish it, you got to be able to take it.
That's true.
But, for me, I think the quality as a whole, especially because I locked in at the $32,000 price. So especially now, all this other stuff that's been happening in the market where everything's been going up, that I got that car for $1,500 more than I got my, Dynamics, and I'm getting real bead locks. I'm getting also some really good 32s. I'm getting massive shocks. The suspension is super big.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Adjustable sway bar. You have you can adjust the rear geometry a little bit on your trailing arms, and the seats are super nice. And
that's one more thing, just so I can throw it out there. The Robbie Gordon rear trailing arm is stout, and it's worked good.
No need to buy radius rods. Or
no radius rod
plate. Way better geometry.
Yes, a radius rod plate or no radius rods. That was another solid. But that arm's been around for a while. It's been on the speed and the other speed and the XXX or Arctic Cat, whatever they call it. I don't know. I forget.
I didn't tell you, but Oscar from 5150 was at our booth, and he's like, "Hey, I want to meet Todd Romano. I want to talk to him about selling whips." So I walk over to the booth, and I'm like, I grab the shock, and I'm holding it, and Todd Romano's there. And Todd he gets his camera, and he's like, "All right, Nick, I want you to explain to your buddy the shock and how it works." And he just starts recording, and I'm like, okay. And then it's funny because Todd is a mountain bike nerd like me too, so I started making some mountain bike analogies, and I hope he has the video. I should ask him for it. I hope he posts it because I think I did pretty good. And I acknowledge when it was above my pay grade, and he was talking about the interaction of high and low speed compression and yada yada, things that get extra hairy. So but a lot I had learned from Wayne Israelson, my suspension tuner.
Yeah.
So I talked to Wayne when I was searching for Can-Ams, and asked him which Can-Am to buy. And Wayne's like, I said, "Oh, by the way, Wayne, I did good on this video." And a lot of it's because you taught me a lot of these things. Basically, real quick on Wayne, I was searching for Can-Ams, and, they make the lower price XRS, which has the 2.5-inch shock. So I'm like, "Wayne, can I get the 2.5, and can you make it magic, or should I get the RR with the 3.0s? And what do you think about smart shocks?" And Wayne said, "The 2.5s, Nick, not for what you want to do. You're a nerd. It's not going to make you happy. And the Can-Am aren't really that great.
Right.
Don't get a smart shock." So I'm like, "Okay, Wayne, I'm getting the 3L," which led me to only 3 models, which is the XRC or the RR in black and tan or the RR in black. So that's why I'm saying it's even harder for me because I'm not going to buy a 2.5 base model. I'm not going to buy a smart shock model.
All right. Well, like I said, the shock is massive. It's pretty big, and it looks like it cuts your hand off. The machining on it's pretty sharp, but
it's going to cause some real bad hurt to some of the sand car guys when it has more travel, more stroke, and more volume, and it's a bigger shock than a lot of sand cars out there.
Yeah. What's the deal with the? And you might know this. I haven't watched all the videos. What's the deal with the aluminum belt cover, cast cover?
Yeah, so it's designed it's got bearings inside of the outer cover, so that also creates a double shear point for the primary and secondary. Because as you know, the primary and secondary, the better they can stay in the same exact spot, the less issues you're going to have with belt problems. Like a high-end STM has the bar that will connect them. So that was the design process of aluminum, where the ribbing inside of it creates that figurative bar.
So it actually slides into place, over
and
the
you
primary.
Have a bearing. A bearing goes over the primary and the secondary, which creates a double shear to keep the primary and secondary from flexing on the rods over high outputs. It seems like it's really thoughtful and innovative, but it remains to be seen with a 4-seater with 4 guys out in the dunes how well it's going to hold up.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
So cool design. The airbox was also really low, so I think a lot of these guys that mud and deal with that type of stuff, I think they'd probably even going to create a relocation kit. It's cool that it comes right out of the little side ducting, right into the airbox. I'm sure it's great for horsepower and for what we do. But I also think for a lot of people who aren't just desert runners, that could be a problem. And you'd want your airbox up a little bit higher because we've gone through puddles in Baja that are above the top of your tire, and above the top of your tire, you're pretty much right at the airbox.
Right. No, for sure.
That's something above my pay grade, but I think some guys might have a problem with the idea of that and might want to change it around.
Gotcha. Okay.
A couple other things. I thought the fit and finish was better than I thought. The doors obviously weren't that good. Some of the welds, but the bolts were shouldered correctly. Really nice, high quality hardware. Suspension kit I was fired up on. I just love the whole front knuckles. How beefy everything is. Everything's actually double shear. It's so nice to see that on a UTV with not ball joints and stuff. So
it looked like you still used the real teeny diameter tie rod though.
The tie rod did look a little small, but
and that's how it was. That's how it was on the XXX too. Which it was that car. When he had that, mocked up 4-seater triple X, or what do you call it? The 4X. I think he called that the 4X.
XXX, yeah.
Yeah. The 4-seater version that he had, which is really nice, like everything, but that tie rod just seems so teeny. It's like that car was like 82 wide or something. It was crazy, like how wide it was. I saw it at Glamis, and I can just see you hitting a big bump and things like that, and that tie rod just pouncing off or breaking. So, but I mean, like I said, Robbie's a smart guy. He's been in the off-road game long enough. I don't think he's going to build something that he knows is going to break. Obviously not. He doesn't want that. So I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. It's just a waiting game.
Yep. So there you go, guys. You got the speed lover, the believer, the speed skeptic. We're all excited. Hopefully I'll get to drive one of these things. I don't want to leak too much, but I might get a chance to drive one in the next month to 45 days, potentially. We'll keep you posted. But that's that, and good way to wrap up the show. So let's wrap this thing up, Wes. We've been talking for a long time.
Right.
Real quick, what's next on deck for you? Events, races.
Okay.
Before we reconvene in Glamis for Halloween.
All right. Up until Halloween, it's gonna be busy. So this weekend, I will be racing the Legacy race out of Prim. I think it's the Battleborn race. It's more of like a short course type of race. I'm actually not racing with Sierra. I'm racing with the King, Randy. So we're going to go out there. Me and Randy are going to run it.
Just kind of get that experience.
Yeah. So it'd be fun. It's just right there in Prim. It's basically the infield of the Mint. We're going to do, I think it's 8 laps, 9 miles or something like that for 2 days with a joker lane, like Supercross style.
Nice.
So joker lane. So, there'll be some tactics in it. Then let's see, we have UTV Worlds coming up. So we'll be down in Havasu for UTV Worlds. We got to get
any word on them making a longer loop? Because last year a lot of people didn't like how short the loop was. Any word that they'll be able to extend it because it was in Havasu?
I have no idea. I kind of hope they don't use the same loop. I mean, because that. I mean, it was brutal. It was brutal. Like by lap 4, like it was just so bad that it just was bouncing you inside, and people were like, "Oh, your shocks are too." And it really had nothing to do with shocks. It was just the chatter. So we'll see. And I'm sure a lot of that has died down over with the weather and the wind and things like that. So I haven't heard, Nick. I don't know. I just know that they're allowing pre-running, but they're not going to allow pre-running for like 2 weeks. It's 2 days. It's like Monday and Tuesday. The pros are qualifying Thursday. I think we race Saturday.
Yeah.
Then after that, looks like we'll be preparing to go to Glamis. Mm-hmm. Since the final Best in Desert race got pushed back to the beginning of November, first week in November. So super stoked about Glamis. Usually by the end of the season, I'm kind of done with the sand, but usually about this time I start thinking about the sand, getting the car all pretty, shined up like it was at the sand show, throwing the paddles on it, cruising around. And obviously, Glamis is fun to ride in, and go to different places, but you also get to go and see the new stuff. You get to see people out there, friends, family, and just have a good time. So Glamis, I've been going for about 5 years now, thanks to Nick. And I'm excited to go. Have
you driven like a Can-Am in the dunes or a 2-seater? So I think the fans are going to want to get Wes's perception of the X3 in the dunes. You have to drive my car.
I've driven a tuned X3, both 2-seater and 4-seater. They did really well. So that was quite a few years ago, but they were pretty good. And these ones had, really good suspension on them. So it was cool, like for sure. Yeah. But yeah, so we'll be out there. Everybody knows we're going to be out there. We've told you already. So everybody listening, come find us, come say hi, come get your stickers, come, just hang out, whatever. So yeah, what you got?
Try to make it in the Big Banger, man. We're going to try to get 100,000 views. We're going to try to do something different.
For sure.
We always try to put together a cool video and try to mix it up. This video is also sponsored by Onyx Off-Road. So we'll see some integration of the GPS app in a dune setting environment, which I think would be cool. I like to do a long day of just a lot of duning. Maybe go to Dooner's Diner, maybe even go beyond it. Go in some of those areas, out of bounds areas, because I feel like we go, I get bored of things, or I want to just keep switching things up from the sake of the video, as well as like, let's go into that untapped dune area that we don't really go to. We don't need to just go to the hill every single time. For sure we'll be at the hill, for sure we'll be at the drags, for sure we'll be at the swing catching action, but like we've done that so many times. I think I also want to just try to do something a little bit unique and switch it up is kind of my plan.
Yeah, that sounds like a plan to me. You know us, we're game, so just load up the cars and go.
Bring them sandwiches and do it all day until like we're out of gas type of day. Would be fun.
Yeah, for sure. So, and I mean, down there with with the dunes, it doesn't take long to run out of gas though. So
Yeah.
But absolutely, I'm excited. Like Nick said, Onyx stepped up and, sponsoring this video and helping us and making it. And like, we want to make a cool video. So I think last year's video was really cool. I think it turned out really good. I think people got to see it. I think a lot of people saw the content. A lot of people don't understand what it takes to make a video like that and to get the shots that we got, but we're just going to think of new ones, and we're going to think of new ways to do it. And the guys that we have helping us do the filming and stuff like that are amazing. So yeah. I'm excited. So
yeah, we got the dream team back, and I think it would be kind of cool if we talk to a lot of you listeners or fans of the brand or fans of the channel. So if you see us out in the dunes, come say what up, get on the film. So, especially if you're running the products or stickers or doing, flags or whatever, come say what's up so we can get a little snippet of you guys and people can be in the video. Because we do always like documenting you guys out, documenting Glamis for what it is. So like we want to show guys on dirt bikes, quads, three-wheeler, sand cars.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what Glamis is. Even though we're a UTV brand, who cares? Like, we want to show you guys encapsulate what we think the culture and the lifestyle really is. So
for sure. Yeah, excited to see everybody out there. Excited to go out there and have fun, and spend time with the family, let the kids enjoy it, and just have a good time. So
it'll be our first time being around the campfire for real.
There you go. We should go live from there. Yeah, pray I'll get a service.
If we had internet, for sure, it'd be cool. All right, everybody, we're going to sign off. Thanks for listening. I think it's pod number 11, man. Always fun time chatting, Wes. And
yeah, absolutely.
Look forward to, get ready. We'll see you out there in the dunes, man.
Awesome. Can't wait.
All right, if you guys like the content, don't forget to like and subscribe. And as always, we have a whole lot more coming your way.